Did you know that New Zealand offers more than 80 different types of visas? Yeah, that's a lot. But here's the catch, most of them are country-specific. That means the type of visa you can get and its requirements depend on where you're from. In this video, we'll focus on the key aspects of applying for a New Zealand work visa, so you can get started as soon as possible. But before we dive into the details, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any of our helpful videos. Alright, let's get started. First things first, let's talk about costs. Brace yourself, folks, because some visas can be quite pricey. Take the entrepreneur work visa, for example. It's known to dig deep into your pockets. Plus, most applications require an immigration fee. So, make sure you're financially prepared. Now, let's walk you through the application process. Fortunately, the majority of New Zealand visas follow a similar online application procedure, and some requirements are universal for all visa types. But be warned, some visas have super short application windows, and spots fill up lightning fast. Some visas also operate under a points system called the point scale. Work permits and employment-based visas. If you want to work in New Zealand, you will need a work permit or an employment visa. This guide will give you an overview of the various types of working visas and go over the most common options in greater detail. If you want to learn more about other types of visas in New Zealand, visit the New Zealand government's immigration website, which is linked in the description below. New Zealand's work visa requirements. The eligibility requirements, application forms, costs, and processes for various work visa types may differ. In general, to apply for a work visa in New Zealand you need identity proof, passport or identity certificate, and 2 acceptable visa photographs. Proof of good health. After arrival, a health questionnaire, a chest X-ray, and a medical examination were completed. Proof of good character, a completed character questionnaire, police certificates from your country of origin, and any country where you have lived for at least 5 years since the age of 17. Proof of genuineness. Every document you submit must be either the original or a certified copy. When applying for a visa, you will typically find a guide that corresponds to each visa type on the official website. It is recommended that you read through this document ahead of time to ensure that you are up to date on all requirements. Then, before beginning your application process, you should have each document with you and ready to submit. If your visa is based on a points system, you can usually find a simulation on the immigration website that allows you to see if you have enough points to apply. Keep in mind that only an immigration officer can award you points during your visa review. Difficulties obtaining a New Zealand visa. In general, getting a work visa in New Zealand may be difficult due to limited spots or application deadlines. If your country has a set quota, applications will be accepted on a specific date. You will typically have 59 days from the date of application to apply, but this time frame may vary depending on your nationality and the country in which you are currently residing. Even with this interval, vacancies are likely to disappear quickly. Be specific and adhere to the deadline that applies to you. Once a country's quota is filled, it can only apply again the following year. Some countries have quotas as low as 50 people per year, while others, such as Canada, the United Kingdom, and Japan, have unlimited quotas. For the conditions that apply to your country, you can consult a complete list of work visas. Work visa application process and form. The majority of the visa application process is completed online through New Zealand's immigration website. This online process is simple and quick, and the online form should take no more than 15 minutes to complete. Alternatively, you can submit the application form for the type of visa you selected, along with all necessary supporting documents, to the corresponding receiving center. Depending on the type of visa you applied for, you will be notified whether you need to send in your passport or if you will be issued an eVisa. This is an electronic visa that is stored in the immigration system and replaces the physical sticker or stamp on your passport. This eVisa is valid for the following visas: student visa, work visa, Visitor visa. Business visitor visa. Group visitor visa. Partner of a New Zealander resident visa. Dependent child resident visa. To apply for an eVisa, you must first create an online account on the immigration website and then complete the application process there. It is recommended that you print the eVisa letter and keep it with you while in the country. Types of temporary work visas. It is critical to understand that all work visas in New Zealand are temporary, even those that can lead to permanent residency, as discussed further in this guide. When we talk about a temporary work visa in New Zealand, we mean that these visas are not intended to lead to permanent residency. In New Zealand, there are two types of temporary work visas. Working holiday visa. This visa is valid for 1 or 2 years. Essential skills work visa. This visa allows you to stay for 1 to 5 years, depending on your level of skill and the length of your employment contract. Let's zoom in on the essential skills work visa. The essential skills work visa is intended for skilled workers whose occupations are on the essential skills in demand list. It allows you to work in the country for up to 5 years, depending on your skill level. To fill a job position with this visa, the employer must demonstrate that they could not hire a New Zealander. How to apply? To apply for an essential skills work visa, you will need the following documents: a full-time job offer, as well as a copy of your employment agreement. Your employer must demonstrate that the position could not be filled by a New Zealander. An employer supplementary form, completed by the employer, that describes your job offer. A document demonstrating the required qualifications, original or certified copy. Occupational registration, if required. You cannot also be subjected to a stand-down period, which requires you to spend 12 consecutive months outside of New Zealand. Despite the fact that this type of visa is only intended to fill temporary skill gaps, you may still apply for residence if you earn enough points to qualify for residence under the skilled migrant category. Other work visa types. To learn more about the various types of visas available for working in the country, visit the link in the description below to view a comprehensive list of all work visas in New Zealand. If you are not sure which type of work visa is best for you, New Zealand's immigration website provides a detailed online service that lets you see your options based on your age and country of origin. You can compare up to 3 types of visas side by side, in addition to seeing all of the options that apply to you. Who qualifies as a skilled or highly skilled worker in New Zealand? The Australian and New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupations will classify your qualifications, skills, and experience into one of 5 categories. If you meet the following criteria, you are considered a skilled worker. Your occupation is listed in ANZSCO as level 1, 2 or 3, it matches the description, and you are paid more than 25 New Zealand dollars per hour. Your occupation is classified as level 4 or 5, it matches the job description, and you are paid more than 50 New Zealand dollars per hour. Your occupation does not have a corresponding description, but you are paid at least 50 New Zealand dollars per hour. How much does a work visa cost in New Zealand? Work visas typically come with 2 types of fees, a visa fee and an immigration levy. However, some countries charge more than others, and some may have a fee waiver agreement with New Zealand, so always check your specific needs. The visa can be paid for online using a credit card such as Visa or MasterCard. If you are coming from a Pacific country, the visa fee will be different. The immigration levy is 55 New Zealand dollars regardless of the type of visa you apply for. Self-employment visas. You can only be self-employed in New Zealand if you have permanent residency, or have been granted one of the country's self-employment visas. The following are the types of visas that permit self-employment. Working holiday visa. Entrepreneur work visa. Investor's visa. Post-study work visa, for new graduates who recently completed a qualification in New Zealand. Partners of New Zealand citizens can also work for themselves in the country. Keep in mind that you cannot be self-employed in New Zealand if you have a student visa or a visitor's visa. The most common business visas in New Zealand are the Entrepreneur Work Visa and the Investor Resident Visa. We go over the requirements, application process, and costs for these self-employment visas in New Zealand. The Entrepreneur Work Visa is intended for people who want to buy or start their own business in the country. You are permitted to stay and work in New Zealand for a total of 3 years. 1 year during the startup phase and 2 years after demonstrating that you have established your business. To apply for this visa, you must meet all of the general visa requirements as well as the following conditions. Make a business investment of at least 100,000 New Zealand dollars. Score at least 120 points on the Entrepreneur Points scale. Provide a thorough business plan. Establish your company within 12 months. Participate in an assessment of the Entrepreneur Work Visa category. Be aware that this type of visa can be costly. Most New Zealand visas cost between 200 and 600 New Zealand dollars, but the Entrepreneur Work Visa costs 3,365 New Zealand dollars in total fees, on top of the 100,000 New Zealand dollars you must invest in the country. Visa for investing in New Zealand. There are 2 types of visas that allow you to invest in the country and obtain residency. Investor 1 Resident Visa. You and your family can live in New Zealand indefinitely if you invest 10 million New Zealand dollars in the country over 3 years. Investor 2 Resident Visa. If you are under the age of 65 and invest 3 million New Zealand dollars over a 4-year period, you and your family can live in New Zealand indefinitely. There is, however, a quota of 400 people for this type of visa. You can also apply for other types of visas that allow you to invest in the country, for example, a temporary retirement visa, so review the full list of visas that allow you to start a business or invest. Residency permits, temporary and permanent. In general, all visas in New Zealand are temporary and grant you residence for the duration of the visa. If you want to become a permanent resident in New Zealand, you must first apply for a temporary residence permit and then apply for permanent residence. Only certain visas allow you to bring your spouse and immediate family with you. New Zealand's migration law does not include a fiancé visa. However, not all temporary visas can lead to permanent residence. Certain visa types can be extended and eventually lead to permanent residence. These visa types are described below, along with all of the necessary temporary residence permit requirements, steps, benefits, and fees. To become a permanent resident, you must be 55 or younger and have worked in New Zealand on a temporary visa for 2 years. Temporary visas that lead to permanent residence and how to apply. Skilled Migrant Category Resident Visa. If you have the necessary skills and experience, you may apply. You must be 55 or younger, a skilled worker, and be able to claim 160 points on INZ's Skilled Migrant Expression of Interest Point Scale. Employees of Relocating Business Resident Visa. If your employer's business relocates to New Zealand, you may apply for this visa. Talent, Accredited Employer, Work Visa. You must have the necessary skills and talents to work in New Zealand. You must be under the age of 55 and have a job offer for a 2-year full-time position, paying 55,000 New Zealand dollars per year. Immigration New Zealand must accredit your employer. Entrepreneur Work Visa. You are an entrepreneur or innovator looking to purchase or establish a business in New Zealand. You have invested at least 100,000 New Zealand dollars in your business, can claim 120 points on INZ's Entrepreneurial Point Scale, meet the business plan requirements, and can read, write, and speak English. Long-Term Skill Shortage List Work Visa. This visa is for people with skills and talents that are in demand in New Zealand. You must be 55 or younger, and your occupation must be on the list of skill shortages. There is no option for a family visa with this visa. The application process for each temporary visa type varies, but in general, you must submit an expression of interest that includes a score point based on your age, work experience, qualification, and job offer, if applicable. If you are chosen, you will be able to submit a full application. Applications are chosen only once a month. New Zealand permanent residency benefits. As a permanent resident, you have the right to live, work, and study in New Zealand, as well as travel freely to and from the country. If your partner and dependent children were included in your original residence application, you can also include them on your visa application. How to get permanent residency in New Zealand. To obtain permanent residency, you must first spend 2 years in New Zealand on a residence visa. You must also meet the following criteria. Bring an ID and 2 acceptable photos to prove your identity. Be thought to be of good character. Provide proof that you have met the requirements of your current resident visa. You can demonstrate your dedication to New Zealand in one of 5 ways. You have spent sufficient time in New Zealand, and your travel records will be scrutinized. You have New Zealand tax resident status, for which you will need an inland revenue statement and a completed tax resident status confirmation. You have made an investment in New Zealand, for which you will require documentation such as bank statements or property deeds. You own a successful business in New Zealand that benefits the country. You have established a base in the country, for example, by owning a home, creating employment, working for yourself, etc. Permanent residence application process and fees. The application process and fees for a permanent residence visa may differ depending on your country of origin and whether you apply in your home country or in New Zealand. In general, you must complete an application form for a permanent resident visa and submit it along with the required documents to the appropriate receiving center. Enter your nationality and country of residence on the official immigration website to find out. Permanent residency visas cost 210 New Zealand dollars plus an immigration fee that varies by region. You may also be required to pay receiving center and courier fees if you are unable to collect your passport yourself. And there you have it, folks. A comprehensive guide to help you kickstart your journey to work in New Zealand. Remember, always check the official New Zealand immigration website for the most up-to-date information. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with your fellow future Kiwis, and subscribe for more informative content. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next video. Stay informed and stay awesome.